What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with another holiday music reaction, and this is another one I think is, let's say, less traditional in terms of being a Christmas song. This is provided by Vera, and it's called The Rebel Jesus by Jackson Browne. Now, Jackson Browne, it's a name I think I've seen or heard before, but I don't have any experience with his music as far as I'm aware. And yeah, The Rebel Jesus, it's an interesting phrase. Certainly there are particular interpretations of the story of Jesus and Christ in the scriptural narrative in which he is seen as being revolutionary, and just in terms of some of the verses in various chapters about, you have heard it said that this is the way, but I say to you, do it this way. So in that regard, I think he was rebellious as the story goes, and of course in terms of the narrative of Pontius Pilate and his crucifixion, the idea that he was upsetting the apple cart too much, he was changing too much, he was threatening the status quo. I think that also fits, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a more nuanced meaning to it, or a meaning with more modern significance. Either way, I'm very curious, and once again, thank you to Vera and to all those who have provided holiday tunes. And as we go through the holiday music this holiday season, which again, in about 2 days or so, will shift to exclusively holiday reactions, I appreciate everyone's sharing of music and their patience as I try to go through holiday music from my own collection, both CDs and digital, and try to get around to at least a few of the holiday music selections provided by others. So I appreciate everyone's gratitude, or rather generosity, and their patience. Let's give it a listen. This is Jackson Browne. The tune is The Rebel Jesus.
How the streets are filled with laughter and light, and the music of the season, and the merchants' windows are all bright with the faces of the children, and the families hurrying to their homes as the sky darkens and freezes. We'll be gathering around their hearths and tables, giving thanks for God's graces and the birth of the rebel Jesus. Oh, they call him by the Prince of Peace, and they call him by the Savior, and they pray to him upon the seas and in every bold endeavor, and they fill his churches with their pride and gold as their faith in him increases. But they've turned the nature that I worship him from a temple to a robber's den.
Oof.
In the words of the rebel Jesus. We guard our world with locks and guns, and we guard our fine possessions. And once a year when Christmas comes, we give to our relations, and perhaps we give a little to the poor, if the generosity should seize us. But if any one of us should interfere in the business of why there are poor, they get the same as the rebel Jesus. But pardon me if I have seemed to take the throne of judgment, for I've no wish to come between this day and your enjoyment. In a life of hardship and of earthly toil, there's a need for anything that frees us. So I bid you pleasure and I bid you cheer, from a heathen and a pagan, on the side of the rebel Jesus.
Masterpiece. It's a moving, well-crafted, and beautifully written masterpiece on all sides of it. Okay, so I'll start with the lyrics. Like, it's such an incisive yet tender, respectful, and beautiful theme. He's saying, this holiday that we're approaching, it celebrates the birth of Jesus, the birth of Christ, this person who was rebellious and who taught people to care for others, treat thy neighbor as thyself, to turn the other cheek, to not simply, take an eye for an eye, but to, again, be merciful and kind. And he's saying the modern world, unfortunately, there are many people who espouse belief and faith in that Savior, but whose actions and whose attitudes seem to run afoul of that. He's saying that the modern world, unfortunately, in many respects, it over-glorifies possessions and material aspects and guards that with guns and locks. And yet, during this one time of year, there's a sense that, well, we should give gifts to our relations, and maybe, just maybe, we can be charitable to the poor. But for those who challenge the systems of economics and social dynamics that facilitate the amount and nature of poverty in the modern world, if you challenge that, if you are in a sense Christ-like and try to create a better and more charitable world, well, actually, you're going to get what he got, which was, again, punishment, lethal punishment, and essentially banishment from the world that he lived in. And that's what you might face, because the powers that be, they won't tolerate that type of behavior. And he's saying, look, I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes here. I'm not trying to take away from your enjoyment of this merry holiday. Life is hard. Years long, we have this toil of the grind of trying to make a living and to support ourselves and our families and to find some measure of joy and cultural enrichment. And so if you find that in this holiday, by all means, please continue. But I'm here on the side of the rebel Jesus, and hey, I'm a heathen, I'm a pagan, so, you might write me off. But I feel like I'm trying to live up to that legacy, to that story, which is admirable. So even if I'm on the outside looking in, I support this holiday. I'm just asking if people could maybe consider what his messages really were, what that might mean in the present, and maybe taking a more merciful and kind disposition to the world, and to therefore really embody the spirit of Christmas. It's beautiful. It's incredible. He's got a great voice, and the arrangement, including the pipes, which I absolutely enjoyed. But yeah, it's just a rich, beautiful tune that, again, was more overtly Christmas related than I might have thought in advance. So Just stunning. I absolutely loved it. Thank you again to Vera and to any others who may know Jackson Browne and comment here. Shout out to Luca who slept through the whole thing. Let me know what you think. Season's greetings, and I will see you next time. Peace.